Well, hello everybody, it's Mary with Stamps-N-Lingers, and it is Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, which means it is time for a Stamps-N-Lingers video tutorial. So give me just a second to be sure that I'm actually transmitting on the actual Facebook page that I mean to be transmitting on. Well, I'm in my Stamps-N-Lingers Facebook page, and I see my video, therefore it must be so, because Facebook would never, ever, ever lie to me, ever. Hey Glenda, appreciate you joining. Hope you're having a good weekend and staying warm. We just came in, so if my hands are kind of red, I had my gloves on, but they got a little wet, and it was cold. It says 39, but my goodness, it's a lot colder than that, it feels like. Hey, Rosie, hi, Angie, Carol, Faith, appreciate you guys coming. And I hope you're having a good weekend. Okay, so this is my card. I saw a cool video from a demonstrator named Lisa Freeman, and she was using colors that were right up my alley, i.e. soft succulent and evening evergreen, and doing a technique she called whitewashing. And so I watched the video and I was in love. So I used the same exact set. She used Calming Camellia because it's gorgeous and it's perfect for this. Hello, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming in. Oh no, Glenda, I hope you're on the road to recovery now. My goodness, that's harsh. It's a hard time, I know. Hey, Alicia and Audrey, appreciate you guys coming. All righty. Wish our temperature would reach 39. Yeah. Okay, if 39 is warm where you are, then yeah, I feel your pain. By which I mean, I am so glad I don't have to feel your pain. Lancaster, California. Hey, Rose. My old stomping grounds. I've spent many, many days in Lancaster, California without ever being a California resident. Okay, so anywho, this is the card. Remember, I just want to say one thing. This is the host set from Celebration, and the way you get this, you get it for free, is by either placing an individual order of $300 or more, or gathering up a few of your friends, letting me know that you'd like a host code, and letting them help you reach $300 in total sales between all of you. And then you'll get this for free. And that's in addition, of course, to your Stampin' Rewards and all of your great goodies. Okay? So I've used it, and then one of my go-to sets from the annual catalog, The Stitch So Sweetly. So I really, really hope you have this for certain, sure. 78 in Yuma. I have spent some time in Yuma, too. The taco trucks at the food truck place over there across the street from the donut corral. Just saying, lots of calories to be had. Okay, I'm going to concentrate on the card now. It feels like old home day. Old home day. I love it. All right, so here we go. I'm going to show you how to do this. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to stamp this large image right here on some soft succulent. We're going to use Evening Evergreen. You can use all different color combinations and see which ones you like the best. And then we're going to paint it using a blender pen and our Whisper White inked ink pad. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All the measurements will be on my blog tomorrow as always. Hi, Alice. And so you don't even need to do that. You can just watch and just enjoy so much everything I do because it's so amazing. All right. So I've got some already cut there. Here we have our piece. It's just a basic piece of soft succulent. And I am going to take this large image from Calming Camellia, and I am going to stamp it twice in Evening Evergreen. Sorry if everything gets a little bit, jiggly. If everything gets jiggly. And I'm going to make sure I'm getting a good image. Yep, I'm happy with that. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp it twice. Once in this top corner up here. And then I'm just going to flip the card base, the card panel, the cardstock, the piece of cardstock. My goodness. Oh, yay, Lorraine. That'll be fun. I hope this will be something that you want to try. All right. And then we're just going to stamp it up in this corner. Obviously, the center doesn't look very nice where the two stem images came together, but it's fine because it's all going to be covered up. Okay. So I have a blender pen. Let's see, this was my side. Here's how I'm going to do my ink. There's a lot of ways you could do this. You could squeeze this down and get ink in your lid. But the way that Lisa showed, and I liked it, and I actually did two things. So I'm going to show you both of the ways I did it. Is she took an acrylic block and she just smushed it into the ink pad like this. So we basically are just getting ink onto the acrylic block. So I did one of my flowers this way. And then while I was making my sample, I also tried it where I just dribbled some of the refill onto my acrylic block. And what I finally came to was I like a combination of both. Hang on a second. This is the, if you haven't used the refill for the white yet, it's very, very thick. I'll show you how it comes out. See, it's actually like an acrylic paint, really. So I ended up liking using a combination of squishing the acrylic block and making a little bitty dabble-do of the ink. Okay, so most of my coloring is going to be with the ink that's just squished from the block. And I'm just using the tip of the blender pen and adding this white. And I'm only doing it on the flowers. Obviously, if you wanted to do something different, you could. It's probably looking, well, I don't know if it's looking really, really bright or really like, is she actually doing anything? What you need to remember about this ink is it will dry much paler, much lighter than it looks on the actual image, okay? So you may be like, oh my gosh, I got way too much on there. Don't panic. Just stop putting it on when you think if you think you've gotten too much, just stop putting it on and then give it a second to dry, and you'll start to see, I think you'll start to see that it'll become much more manageable. All right, so here's this flower. And then what I did with the ink that I dabbled is I used it to create just a little bit of a highlight. So this petal was kind of curled up, and so I kind of highlighted it right there with just the ink that I had dribbled the dabble. I dribbled a dabble of it on there, and there's another little folded thing. So I just made a few little highlights, and that's what that ink lets you do. Now here's another tip I'll give you. It's sometimes hard because this is a real, it's quite a muted design, okay? So it might help to remember where the leaves are versus flower petals if you keep the image in front of you on the front of the stamp set. So that's just me, and I only know that because I actually colored a leaf on my sample that I didn't mean to do. Okay? All right. So just so you know, this video might be a little longer than 30 minutes because I didn't do any pre-coloring. So if you need to leave and come back, I will certainly understand. All right, and here's some petals. And I'm going to pick up just a little ink and get a little bit of a highlight in the stamen here. See how I knew that botanical term? It's almost like I'm a botanist or something. It's like I'm a botanist. I mean, I'm so not a botanist, but it's kind of like I'm a botanist. Almost exactly like I'm a botanist. Okay. And then here's a petal. And you'll want to remember as well that this ink takes an extra little beat to dry, so don't get too jiggy too quick. Thanks, Kathy. Appreciate it. And Debbie, appreciate you. Yes, a little dabble will do ya. That is exactly right. You could always put more on. It's a lot harder to take it off. The good news is it really actually is going to totally dry a lot lighter than it is when it first goes on. Okay, and I believe that's gonna be a flower. You know how I know? Because I'm coloring it white. That's how I know it's gonna be a flower. Okay. All right, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna turn this and do the other side, and then we'll see what that end is doing when it has a chance to dry a little bit. What I loved about this is I like tone on tone, but it's got just enough light in it to not just be like, oh my gosh, if I see another little piece of green, I'm gonna be really not happy with my life. It's not gonna be good. I mean, I like green as much as anybody, maybe more than a lot of people, but so that was why, just so you know, this is white, because I really did contemplate doing a soft succulent label with perhaps white embossing sentiment, but I think it needed the brightness there. It needed somewhere for people to look that wasn't green. And that's why it is. And then I got the bright idea to add a little bit of that petal pink cotton ribbon. And I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Because pink and green, that is like one of my favorite combos ever. And you know, if you pick up a little too much ink, just wipe it off on your grid paper. Don't be scared. You know, actually, I'm just going to give that a little bit of a wipe right there because that is a leaf. I saw that turned over part and I was like, oh, turned over part. No, that was a leaf, not a petal. So I just wiped it off really fast like that. Did you see that? You didn't even see it practically. That's how fast it was. Yeah, that is how fast it is. Yes, it's the craft white. This is the stamp set. And when you buy it, you get this uninked and you get a refill bottle with it. And you just dab it all over it and then scrape it out like with a credit card or with a bone folder or however that you like to do. And what I did, maybe before you came on, was I squished the top of my acrylic block in the top of the ink pad. And then I also put a little bit, I put a dab of the refill on here so that I could make some highlights. Okay. Now you kind of want to keep it so that the background, the definition of the flowers is still there. All right. So again, this is one of those whatever makes you happy, whatever makes your brain go, oh yeah, there it is. That's when you know to stop, right? Okay. All right. And we're almost done with this panel. And then I'm going to cut the middle out with one of the Stitch So Sweetly rectangles, and I'm going to emboss that middle panel in the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. And yes, you'll have to murmur amongst yourselves while I do that. Thanks, guys. I was really happy that I came across it on YouTube because I really like it. She also did one where she did a Misty Moonlight card stock and then stamped in Night of Navy, and it was really cool too. But I'm a green girl. I like green, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so there you go. You can see the two images. And if you turn it back and you don't like how it is, but see how it dried and you can still see the detail of the flowers, but it has pulled, it's lightened it up. And what's kind of interesting, and she pointed it out and I see it here as well, is that there's kind of a bluish background from the blue that they used the pigment to make the soft succulent. So that's kind of cool. And you know what? I'm really not going to mess with this very much because I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to set that aside for a second. And what I'm going to do off screen for just a minute is I'm going to take, this is the largest of the rectangles in the Stitch So Sweetly, and I'm going to cut this center of the panel out, and then the resulting piece I'm going to emboss in the Tasteful Textiles. So I'll be right back. I mean, like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm totally right here behind you where you just can't see me. And I'm going to try to make this straight and kind of in the middle. Both the middle and straight. That's crazy. That's some high-end stamping and cutting and stuff right there. It's one thing to ask for straight, but in the middle too? Woo, dog. So there's the frame. And then I've got this piece here, and I'm going to emboss it in the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. And you remember, this is the one that I'm talking about. It's just got, okay, it just makes some texture. It really doesn't have a design. It just makes some texture on the card base, or on the cardstock. I'll use my embossing plate. This is the sandwich, in case you're interested. This is a 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to use the #1 plate by itself and then the #4 specialty plate. Remember, when you emboss, you want to send the folded edge forward because that takes better care of the embossing folder and makes your embossing folder have a much longer lifespan. All right, going in the other end first or sideways can be kind of hard on it, which is not to say I've never done it, because sometimes sideways is the way to go depending on what you're doing. All right, so here we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm going to adhere the frame to my evening evergreen mat, just like this. I saw a funny meme on Facebook, and I thought of it just then. It said, 1 minute you're young, and the next minute you're turning the radio down so you can see better in the car. And that is a true thing. My husband and I both do it. When we're getting somewhere and we're trying to find a place, we turn the radio down. I don't think that, I don't know. I think it's kind of odd, really, but it's a thing. But the reason I said that is because as I was trying to get this on here straight, I got quiet. Because I was like, I don't know. I think I can't talk and put that on straight, which, you know, maybe I couldn't. I don't know. All right, I'm going to use black dimensionals, and I'm going to put them on the back of my embossed piece here. You could use white if you don't have black, but if you don't have black, get some black. They're fun to have around. They're handy. You get a sheet of bigs and a sheet of smalls in the pack. So you'll be all ready to roll. I'm going to pull these off, and then I'm going to make sure that I put it on in the same orientation as my frame so that I get the flowers lined up. Because otherwise it's just not even going to be right. It's going to be wrong. Like wrongly wrong. It's going to be weirdly wrong. See, that makes me think that's it, but it isn't. This is it. Okay, there we go. And then once you've made sure you're in the right orientation, you want to make sure that you're right over the hole in the cardstock. Okay, so there we have it popped up. You can see there's just a little difference between the embossed and the non-embossed part. And then the next panel, I just already stamped the flower on there and I cut it. So here's the two pieces. This large rectangle is what I just used to cut the center out. And then the next one down is, no, not the next one, 2 down is what I used to cut this piece. So I just stamped the image on a piece of soft succulent with evening evergreen and cut it out. All right, and now I'm going to color it right quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this one a little brighter, okay? So I'm going to use a little more white, get a little more, be a little more generous. And I'm probably going to dip into that puddle, that little puddle right there, because I kind of want this one to stand out a little bit more than the other one. This is why I told you it was probably going to be longer than 30 minutes, because I really kind of wanted to show you how this technique works, as opposed to saying, oh, and look what I already did before you got here, because that's like cheating. I mean, I do it all the time, because there's some things that aren't very hard. It's like, okay, cut this out. Okay, got that. We can do that, Mary. We got that. But I thought you might want to see the technique before you tried it for yourself. Can you guys even believe that this is the 22nd of January of 2022? I am like blown away by that. I am just blown away by how fast, well, by how fast Celebration is going by. My gosh. Any second now we're going to be going, well, and Celebration ends next week. And everybody who didn't get all the free things they wanted will be so sad. Will be so sad. Okay. So you can see I'm laying the white on a little bit more here. But again, it's going to dry lighter. So I may need to come back. Oops, that's going to be a lot of white right there. Careful. I'm painting that. That's one of those little curly doos where the leaf has curled up. Speaking of leaves, are you guys starting to get your seed catalogs? They do that this time of year. They send them and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm ready for spring. And you know spring is still a ways off, right? I mean, it's really only January. but it makes you start thinking. So we've started thinking about what we're going to start indoors, because it's almost time, really, to start tomatoes inside to get, so we have transplants come, middle of March will be when we'll want to put the transplants out for that. And one of these days it's going to be warm enough, I'm going to get out and clean up the garden, trim off the hydrangeas and prune and take care of the rose. Speaking of which, we just bought a new rose. Does it seem weird that there's roses at Sam's already? That seems weird. But I bought another peace rose. That's my new goal, is only peace roses. Okay. But no, it takes too long to do on video. Could teach for an hour or two. And oh, Debbie, that's so sweet. Yes, this is a blender pen. Okay, not a, blender pen. But it's a real dry one. So it's like one of the ones that you couldn't really, the glycerin in it has dried out. And so I'm just using it as my pen. And hello, Heather. Nice to see you, my friend. All right, now this is a flower. It's hard to tell, but it is. It's not a leaf. I love this. I may have to do another one with the blue, because I think it's really pretty too. All right, so now I've got it all colored. I'm gonna go ahead and tap into that little dabble of the white a little bit and just kind of highlight the stamen a little more. Like I said, I want this one to be a little lighter. Okay. Perfect. I think that's gonna do. See, because this is how it's gonna look. There we go. All right. Oh, who has the great-grandson? Oh, Kathleen, congratulations. Yay! What fun. What fun. You'll have to make a card for the new parents. All right, so I'm going to adhere this with liquid glue just to kind of keep a little bit, you know me, I don't like a lot of layers and a lot of thickness. Right. By which I mean, of course I like layers and thickness. I keep the post office in 2-ounce stamps all by my lonesome. Okay, so I'm just adhering this to the center with liquid glue. Parfait. And then I'm going to take some Stampin' Seal and I'm going to roll it right here. Right there. And then I'll bring in my Petal Pink cotton ribbon. Remember, this is the one that when you buy it, you get two rolls, one in Misty Moonlight, one in Petal Pink. I'm putting it back in my ribbon holder, which, oh, by the way, Stampin' Storage has on sale 10% off this weekend through the 24th. And also the amazing drawer cabinets, just throwing that out there. Okay, so I'm going to make a loose Z, and this is a loose Z. I'm just going to twist it back on itself like this. You can see I haven't cut the ribbon yet. I'm going to go a little bit further. And then I'm using that Stampin' Seal, that little piece of Stampin' Seal that I had there. Okay. And then I will cut this here like a so. Just like a so. And then I'll take my sentiment and I'm going to pop it on right there. Now here's a cool little thing. If I had put this where I didn't want it, you really can still pick this up. Okay, just like this. And all I'm going to do there is just kind of spread it out just the tiniest bit. But that's the nice thing about the seal is it'll get harder, like not harder, but more permanent as time goes. But you do have a little bit of time. Okay, so now I'll take some more black ones because I've got them handy. And I'm just going to put them right here on the card front. Pick up their little kappas. Pick up their little kappas. That's what I call them. I don't call them that. I call them those pesky dimensional covers that go everywhere. That's what I call them. but that's a lot longer to say than cappies. Okay, so let's get this as straight as I can, which may not be at all straight, like that. And then I'm going to take some of the pinkish, see, these are polished dots. You can see some are clear and some are really, really, really pale pink. I mean, they are so pale pink, you could almost say they're not pink at all, but they are pale pink. They really are, I promise. All right, and I'm going to use a couple of the little ones. I'm going to put one, see how not pink it is? But it is a little bitty pink, a little bitty pink, a little bitty pink. Oops, I thought I had it picked up and I didn't. I'll put one right there. And then I'm going to put one, I think I'll put one right there. Oops, stay. There. And there is our card front with the whitewashed Calming Camellia. Isn't that so pretty? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. Now for the inside, I am going to switch inks and I'm going to go with my soft succulent ink, which is right here. It's totally right here. And I'm going to stamp the leaf image. Looks like this on the sticker. Looks like this here. It's very difficult to tell what it is until you kind of look. And I'm going to show you a technique to use with these distinctive stamp sets. Okay, so I've just inked, okay? That's all I've done. And I'm going to stamp. Now, I don't love how that looks. If you like that, that's fine. But if you don't and you want to fix it, I'm going to show you how. So we're going to ink again in the soft succulent. And then I'm going to take a sponge dauber in the same sponge, in the same color. And I'm going to dab it in there. And then I'm going to dab all over the stamp image. Okay. And what you're doing is you're kind of, it's like you're picking up ink, but keeping ink there. Does that make any sense? Right. Sure, of course it does, Mary. Yeah. And then I'm going to stamp it again right next to it, and you'll see, we'll see if there's a difference. You see how that softened these dots? So it just depends on which you prefer. Do you prefer a more muted look, or do you prefer with the dots more pronounced? Totally up to you. You should do you. Yes, I agree, Lori. I love the photopolymers. I have ink on that finger. I'm going to turn it this way so that I can see I made a smudge. I made a smudge. All right, and I'm going to do that, but I want a little more ink than my sample did, than this. I want it to be a little more pronounced than that. So I'm going to be really picking up ink and doing a quick job with my dauber. All right, and then this fits very nicely in a corner because of the curve. There. Perfect. I will take that, Bob, for $1. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and I am leaving this blank because I don't know. I may need it as a birthday card. I may need it as a thank you card. I may need it as a get well card. I don't know. But right now, it's a you're in my thoughts today. So I would highly recommend that if you are building stashes of cards, if you can keep an inside blank and keep a relatively generic sentiment on the front, then when you need a card, you can tailor the inside to do as you like. Or it might even go without a sentiment and just a longer, note. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and put this, it's going to be a thick basic white card base. Thank you, Sue. And we're going to put this in with liquid glue, like so. And I'm going to add one of these little dots because I really like them a lot. And I'm going to do the little ones. I use way more little embellishments than big ones. That's just me, though. Totally just me. And we'll put a lid on that so I don't dry it out worse than I may already have. And then I'm going to, I've got my blacks again. Pop this on with some dimensionals, and our card will be done. It will be done, Sky. I say to you, it will be done, Sky. All right, now finding more dimensionales. There we go. There. All right. Why? Some days me and these little covers we just argue. I don't know. It's like being married. Just have to argue every once in a while. They're like, no, I'm not coming off. Yes, you are. No, no, I'm not. You can't make me. Yes, yes, I can, because I have the opposable thumbs. And I'm stubborn. Come off of there. There you go. And yes, I know I could dig out my take your pick tool, but now it's about the principle. It's the principle of the thing. Come off of there. Okay, let's make sure I'm right side up, not wrong side down. Okay, there we go. And as I said previously, danske. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp my envelope. And I'm going to use that leaf again in the soft succulent. See, dimensional covers everywhere. And now a dimensional strip. Oh, goodness. All right, and get my dauber back out. I have probably mentioned that I have a love-hate relationship with distinctive stamps. I love how they look when I get them right. But sometimes I don't get them right, and then I get annoyed. Like if I stamp this envelope and I don't have it where I want it, I'm going to probably be a little annoyed with myself, because then I will have wasted an envelope. Not going to fib you. I waste a lot of envelopes because I'm picky. I'm way too picky. Okay, everybody hold your breath. Yay, it worked. It worked. Woohoo. All right, there we go. Oh, I love it. Isn't that so pretty? You know, the distinctives are so gorgeous. They just really are. All right, I have a little piece of soft succulent paper from the 2021-2023. Oh, Karen, I am so far behind all those Stampin' Up! Designers. It's not even funny. But thank you very much. That's a very kind thing to say. You are so sweet. Your payment will be in your checking account tomorrow, dear. All right. And we'll give this a quick cut and get rid of that darn dimensional cover. I'm going with there's a lot of static right now because it's dry. Let's go with that. Even though it's been raining, so yeah, it's not at all dry. It's not at all dry. They just go everywhere because they are here on the planet Earth to torture me. I'm certain of it. There we go. All right. And there we have whitewashed Calming Camellia. Thank you, Lisa Freeman, for the inspiration and the how-to. I hope you will try this because it is fun, fun, fun. And if you don't have Calming Camellia, you could try hand-pinned petals. You could try any of the flower, certainly any of the distinctive sets I think would be gorgeous. Flowing flowers would probably be a pretty one, Dahlia Days. But if you can get Calming Camellia before it goes away with that $300 order, I highly recommend it because it's beautiful. All right. All right, guys, I hope, only 5 minutes long. I appreciate you hanging with me, and I appreciate you spending part of your weekend with me. I'll see you next week, hopefully on Thursday for the YouTube video. All right, guys, ta.